Hello and welcome to CommuniKey Agents Open Office for February 27th, 2025. It is 2 o'clock, which is our start time, but I'm going to give some folks a few minutes to hop in case they were hoping to. Check my messages real quick. Thank you for watching. If you are watching the recording of this, hopefully you're finding these videos helpful, beneficial, useful to your business growth, to your real estate growth. Um, Sometimes, they're just raw conversations between a couple agents. Sometimes they're just me babbling on about some topic like benefits with Epic or what it's like to uh, use scripts or profit first for your business, scheduling, being efficient, using systems, things like that. Whatever it is that's on my mind that day. One of these days, maybe I'll make like another calendar. Last year for a few of these, I had a plan ahead of time for all of them. This year, I have not done that yet. So I've just sort of been winging it. And as individuals come on here with me, we've had a couple of the other CommuniKey agents join us. We just talk about the things they're working on. I answer questions. We bounce ideas off each other. So that's what they're like sometimes. Today, I do have a little topic. It's not going to take an hour. If any other agents hop on, I'm hoping I've requested a few to hop on if they have time this afternoon. I'm not sure if they do. They're all out and about being busy every day. The only reason I'm not during this time is because I block it out in my schedule, which we've talked about in the past, schedule blocking or blocking out, in our calendar times for certain things. And this is one of the times I block out, just like Tuesdays for Meals on Wheels. That time is blocked out. One Wednesday a month in the mornings. That time is blocked out for a manager meeting for my other business. Monday evenings, one Monday a month, and Wednesday evenings, one Wednesday a month are blocked out for township meetings for my role as trustee and chamber meetings for my role on the board for the chamber. I just recently added the like liaison person, a role for the liaison person for the township to connect to another group that's in our area where people from each community come together to work on projects. And so one Thursday morning, a quarter, I think it is. I haven't got the schedule back yet, but so that will be blocked out in my calendar once I have those dates provided to me. That's one of the topics that we've talked about before, scheduling and blocking. So I'm just rambling on while I wait to see if anyone hops on for the topic I actually want to talk about. And the reason for my topic today is an experience last week. So sometimes our topics come directly from our topics come directly from our current experiences, and that can be beneficial because maybe someone has not experienced that thing yet, or maybe um, they have experienced it and they handled it differently. And if you're having a conversation about it, you're able to learn some different ways to work through situations that arise in real estate, and situations arise in real estate all the time. I have one property that's currently under contract that has to go to the planning commission for a zoning request. That's a topic. I won't get into that one today. I'm just saying that's a current event that could be talked about. That's something that you may experience as the listing agent or the buyer's agent, depending on the properties that you're working on. And it's not commercial, so it's not even like a special commercial situation. It's a residential property. I'll give everybody one more minute and see if they hop on. A couple people said they might, but they might have got caught up with their clients, which is perfectly fine. There were a couple other meetings today too that they might be on. If you are with Epic and you know about the solo 401k option that we currently have, there was just a meeting on that, on how to sign up and how it works and all that stuff. If you're not with Epic and you're like, what? Your brokerage provides a 401k? Yes, they do. And I don't know, it's pretty cool. I just was on that meeting for a little while. It's the one thing to remember when you're a real estate agent, though, when it comes to things, especially like a 401k or health insurance or any of those things, they're not your employer. So it's not the same as an employer providing these things. You're an independent contractor. So the way the 401k works with us is when you sign up to create it, you are your own employer, just like you are in the rest of the world as a real estate agent. You are your own boss. Um, so our brokerage got us this program through, I don't remember the name of the company now, but our brokerage covers the administrative costs and 2 financial planning sessions per agent a year. So you can go meet with the financial advisor and plan for your future financial successes and have your 401k that you contribute to and that you manage and deal with the financial advisor. And then Epic picks up the costs of the administrative fees and the financial planning fees. So that's just something cool that was a meeting today. If you want to know more about retirement, you can message me. We can hop on a call and hear about the great features that are here. But that's not what this one's about today. Looks like some of my people are not able to make it. That's fine. Let's get started. So today's actual topic, I know I rambled on. I didn't want to put this video up on YouTube and have you sit there and watch me just read messages for 10 minutes while people hop on. So I hold on one second. I think that this person is delivering. Just one second. Ooh, sorry about that. I'm the only one in the building right now, and a delivery truck pulled up. So I had to run and sign for something. Anyhow, back to the topics. Now I forgot where I was at, but okay. So our actual topic for today is what happens when you go to your final walkthrough and you walk in the house and you find something wrong. You find something that was not there the last time you were there. You find an issue. What happens? What happens when that occurs? Well, let me share my screen real quick and I will show you what happened to us last week. Share. Find the right window to show you. What do you see here? Yeah, looks great, right? So we got to our final walkthrough, and this house has a very unique layout. So it's when you go in, what would be like the primary door, that's not the primary door that this new owner is using as their primary door, because this house has 5 exterior doors. So there's a lot of options for going in and out of your house. But when you go in the primary door where the lockbox was at, you are in the kitchen, and the main part of the house that you would think of as like the living space or the primary living space where the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, and bedrooms are located is all to the left of that door. So we got to the house and we walked into the primary door and we went through the primary side of the house where the bedrooms and all that are at. In the basement, we walked through, checked everything out. Everything was looking good. Well, then you go to the left side of the house, which was a converted living space that used to be an attached garage. So you go down a couple steps and it's a slab versus the basement. And there are 4 rooms, a half bath, and like a hallway in this side of the house. So it's a fairly large space. And we walked in the first part, the second room, checked the furnace in there, make sure that's all good, checked in the bathroom, made sure that was all good, and went to the back where the last 2 rooms are. We walk in the last room and we were like, man, it's kind of cold in here. Then we open the door to this room, which is the final room we had to go in. It's the most farthest room in the back, one side of the house. And we open the door to this with shattered glass all over the floor, the window clearly broken and laying there, glass all over the windowsill, and freezing cold air coming in this window. As you can see, lots of snow outside the house on this day. Icicles, you can't see them in this picture, but there were icicles hanging down and dripping because the sun was shining. So this is what we find 1 hour-ish before closing. Buyer, not happy, curious how the window got broke. It appeared to be a break-in. As we walked back through the house, we realized that one of the other exit doors was open, and we got outside to do our outside walk around in the snow because the driveway had not been plowed or anything. In the snow, you could see where footprints came up from the road on one side of the property, right to this window, and then disappeared. So that, however, those people, whoever that was, came in this broken window. And then out one of the exit doors, those footprints went and back out to the road and were gone. So our assumption is that when it was really cold one night, several days before, because the snow had been snowed in over the footprints, you could just see that there were foot indentations in the snow. Someone was cold, broke in, maybe stayed the night, and exited out the door because the door was unlocked where we found the footprints going out of the house. Nothing else in the house was disturbed that we could find. Nothing was missing. Nothing was broken other than this window. So we truly, truly believe that it was just someone looking for a way not to freeze the night that this happened. Whatever night that was, we don't know because the home was vacant and the seller had not been to the property in probably a week or more. So what happens when you go to your final walkthrough and you find something like this, or you find, like the sump pump's missing, or the fridge has been replaced with an older model, or the washer and dryer are gone, things that were in the contract to be in the house, or things that you thought should be in the house. I've heard horror stories of people walking into their final walkthrough and like the house is flooded, or it's like the day before closing and the house has a fire and burns down, or has a fire and damages a lot of it. So what do you do? How do you handle that? For this case, this one was really fairly simple, and luckily the seller and the other agent were very easy to deal with. So I called the agent. I sent them the picture. I was like, hey, we're at the final walkthrough. We're supposed to close in an hour. And we have a little bit of a situation here that it appears someone broke into the house and broke this window. And, the buyer does not want to move into a house with a broken window. That's no fun. Who wants to do that? Thankfully, this buyer is handy, is comfortable making repairs, is pretty easygoing about stuff. I mean, as far as you could be easygoing to walk through your final walkthrough of your new home and find a shattered window and freezing cold air coming in. So while I was talking to the agent, we were outside because we were checking out the outside, and we found some foam board in the shed actually. So we covered the window to make sure that the cold and stuff wasn't going into the house anymore. So we fixed that part for now. And I'm talking to the agent. Well, the agent is like, okay, well, we need to know, like, what do you want to do? Well, my client just wants the money to fix the window. I mean, they're not looking for, you to hire a contractor and come over and do all this stuff. They just give them the money to buy a new window or to get this glass replaced, whatever. So she's like, okay, let me talk to the seller. I'll get back to you. And the buyer was like, okay. Well, then they call back and they're like, well, you need to get quotes. And I'm thinking like, man, seriously, just look online for the window. You just put these windows in, they're new. You can't really super see it, but you can still see the sticker on the window, right? So look at the receipt where you bought the window and tell us how much you paid for them and just give us that much money and we'll get another window. Big deal. But that's just me being annoyed, right? So I call a glass place, ask them about replacing just the glass in this frame, tell them my client can bring it to them, blah, 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 right? Get the quote. They quote us $100. I call the agent back. I'm like, hey, we got a quote. It's $100 to replace the glass. And I'm almost to the title company. We're about to close. And, by this point, we're talking, 10 minutes maybe we'll be closing. She's like, all right, let me get to the seller. I'll let you know. So I get to the title company. Um, and I go in, I talk to the, closers and stuff. And then the seller comes in, but the seller's agent's not there yet. And my buyer client is not quite there yet. He's around the corner. And I say hi to the seller, that we're introduced. We're put into our separate closing rooms for the closing. And my client gets there, and the closer for the seller side shows up and wants my client to start signing. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but we are not signing anything until we make sure that this broken window issue is taken care of. And they were like, oh, okay. And like, I'm not trying to be difficult here, but I want to make sure that my client is taken care of. And we were very fortunate that we had very easy seller and listing agent to work with. I'd imagine that there are some agents and sellers out there that would make this much more of a hassle than it was. This worked out pretty good. Anyway, let me back up just a little bit because I have never experienced an issue at the final walkthrough before. So even though I had already talked to the listing agent, told them what we wanted, told them how I would like to handle it, I called my area leader at Epic and was like, hey, this is the situation. What would you do? And basically, they told me to do the same thing I was already doing. So that was like, whew, I'm glad I chose the method I chose. But I just wanted confirmation. And then I also asked them, like, what can I do to make sure that it gets fixed if there's some pushback? Because I didn't know if there was going to be pushback yet because I was still waiting for a return call. And so I got that answered. And basically, it's just like, don't close. You don't close. Well, my client had a 24-foot trailer full of their belongings ready to move. They wanted to close. So we were going to make sure that that happened. But you do have that option as the buyer to say, I'm out. You are not selling me a house with a broken window. That's not what I signed up for. I think a broken window would be too minor to really back all the way out of for that. But like, flooded house or something like that, I would probably be like, hey, like, well, let's figure something out, or I'm out. Because technically the seller still owns the house at that moment, right? It's still their house, it's still their responsibility. They should be making sure that it's repaired. So back to the title company, I have my client refusing to sign the documents while we wait for the listing agent because the seller didn't want to start signing until his agent was there. So then she gets there and she's like, well, you said it was this amount of money. And I said, yes, that's the quote we got. And she's like, all right, well, he'll just give him cash. And I was like, that's fine. We don't care as long as he gets the money to fix it, right? We can either write an addendum out of contract. He can give him cash. We don't care as long as he gets the funds to be able to repair this window. He's willing to do the repair. He's willing to take care of it himself. He just doesn't want to be the one that's paying for it when he bought a house that had all of its windows in it, or signed up to buy a house with all of the windows in it. So then getting that $100 transferred turned into a bit of a complicated thing. I was like, this doesn't have to be this complicated. Does he have $100 bill? No. Okay. So does he have, he wanted to know if we had this money transfer thing or this, and nobody had the same ones he had. So that made it like weirdly complicated. We're like, can you just write figure out a way to give us this money? It's not even a large amount of money. So finally, I said to the other agent, like, do you have this version of money transfer? And she was like, yeah. I was like, well, how about if I said, are you able to transfer me the money? I will give it to my client and then you can get it from your client and we can just call it a day so that we don't have to spend, another hour trying to figure out how to transfer a small amount of money from the seller to the buyer for this broken window that's, causing way more headache than it really has to at this point. And she's like, oh yeah, let's just do that. So she transferred it to me. I handed my client the money and signing resumed. And then after close, my client ran to the store where they carry windows like this, bought the window, and just took this panel out of the new window and put it in the frame, because taking out an entire window to replace it, pain in the butt. And all of the glass companies that could replace the pane of glass in here told him it would be a 5-day wait. And he was not willing to wait 5 days to be able to have a regular window in this spot. So luckily, this is a stock size window, which we kind of knew from this label as much as we could read on it. And he was able to just go by the window, grab this piece of, take that piece out and replace it. And it stayed within the budget of the amount that we were quoted. And we closed and he moved in and he has a window and he's happy and all moved in. Well, I assume he's all moved in. He said he's pretty much moved in. I'm sure that unpacking will be a while, because unpacking always seems to be a while. So that was my topic for today. I managed to make it take up about 20 minutes. I was really hoping that the other individuals that I had talked to would have been able to make it on with us today, so they could maybe share some of their experiences, that when they went through final walkthrough and they found issues, how they handled them. Because I know, after talking to a few other agents, that different types of issues at final walkthrough have needed a different type of a solution. For us, it was super easy. Had it could have been a little easier. There was some back and forth that I felt was unnecessary, but this is the house was an investment property, so it wasn't like it was their personal house and you were like, and we weren't insulting anybody. We had a broken window, we just wanted it fixed. So and then the transfer of the measly small amount of money compared to like a whole house purchase, right, took more effort than I felt was necessary. Also, like, it should have been way easier, especially since they had some notice ahead of time that they needed to have some money for the buyer to be able to fix the window. But as far as all things go, like, it was really smooth, it was pretty easy. However, I imagine that if my buyer either wasn't comfortable with changing window, or like freaked out because it looked like the house had been broke into, or like the issue would have been worse, like the wall was caved in, someone drove off the road and hit the house. Like, there's a lot of things that could have made it more difficult that I imagine that other agents have dealt with. So if you are an agent who's watching this and you're like, oh, I've had that happen with this type of problem, and you would like to share how you and your client worked it out, whether you were the listing agent and you got the call that there was a problem, or whether you were the buyer's agent, you're walking through the final walkthrough and found it, I'd love to hear about it in the comments, because I think the more we hear about how other people have handled situations in real estate, because there's situations every day that are different. Like I said earlier, I have a building or a house under, or it's not a house, it's residential, but it's not technically a house. I have a property under contract that has to go to the planning commission for the buyer for a special zoning or a special zoning approval. And let's see, what else have I had? I mean, I've had quite a few different. Actually, I think every single property has been a little different. I've had to go through probate, and the paperwork that the person selling the house had. They were told when they were at the court getting the paperwork that they didn't need to go through probate, that they were giving permission to sell the house for their family member. And we found out, like, I don't know, a couple days before closing, that there was one sentence in this giant packet of paperwork that made it so it had to go through probate. Let's see what else. I had one where the seller was living in assisted living, but was mentally all with it. So they were able to sell it themselves, but they didn't have, they didn't use email or anything like that. So everything had to be done on paper. And They had stuff in the garage that they wanted to save, and they had to figure out how to get it out while living in assisted living and not having transportation or being able to drive. Um, what else? I've had one where I helped with an estate sale. This last one, not this last one that had the broken window, but the one before that, they had put the property in trust. And when they were getting ready to sell it, before they talked to me, they were told that they needed to take it out of trust to sell it. And then the paperwork didn't get taken care of properly at some office somewhere. So our title company ended up helping them get it all straightened out like a couple days before closing so they could get it sold. I was the list side on that one. Just all sorts of interesting and different things. And I think the more that we share those experiences with one another, the better everyone is prepared for when they encounter a situation or a weird experience during a building or a commercial or a residential or a property transaction. So if you have had a final walkthrough that had an issue and you had to resolve it, and it got resolved or it didn't get resolved, and your client ended up not finishing with that transaction, please share in the comments. I would love to read them and share them with others and let other viewers of this watch or read them so they can say different ways that they were handled and how they turned out, so that when they experience a similar situation, they can then use the experiences that the others around them have had to help them come up with a way to solve the issue. And that's all I have today. So we're going to cut it short at a half hour. I do have a meeting out of town here in a little while, so I will get ready for that with my extra half hour. I'll give you a half hour of your time back, and I hope to see you here next week on Thursday. What will that be? March 6th? Thursday, March 6th. I hope to see you back here at 2 p.m. and that's March 6th, 2025, 2 p.m. Eastern time for open office. And we'll see if I have a topic. And if not, hopefully somebody hops on and we'll have some Q&A. We'll just have some real and raw sharing of real estate work and life in Michigan. Have a great day, and I can't wait to talk to you later.